Hello, dear ones. Reverend Beth Simmons here with you for your midweek moment. The first one in June. That is wild. I guess maybe it is the first one. Maybe last week's came in at the very beginning of June. Okay, so maybe it's the second one. June is passing very quickly already, folks. It is chilly. As you can see, I'm wearing a sweater, even though it is June. It's cool and it's smoky. I don't know where you are, if you are in New England or the Midwest, I know, or sort of mid-Atlantic. You are also getting the smoke from the Canadian wildfire. So we are holding the Canadian neighbors in our thoughts and prayers, and especially those who are helping to battle the wildfires that are happening there. So it being June, I have been thinking about end of school year stuff, and I had a moment where I got a little nudge, a little message, I think, from God in a neighbor's bathroom, which sounds very strange. Well, let me tell you about it. My family and I went to dinner at our neighbor's last Saturday night after our very successful church yard sale. Which is wonderful. You know, I was exhausted, but it was lovely to have someone else cook for me, and they made a delicious dinner. And I went and used their bathroom, and like many folks, they had a short stack of little reading materials in their bathroom. And one of them was like a devotional, and they're Catholic, or at least she's Catholic. And it was like 365 Days of Mary or something, which I was like, ooh, love me some Mary. And I looked at the one for that day, and it was about failure, which is one of my least favorite things. I don't like failing. I'm a, you know, perfectionist kind of person, as many of us, I think, are, right? And overachiever type. And it was talking about Mary as a parent to Jesus. So before I tell you exactly what it said, I want to just point out the fact that we are in a time of year when there's a whole lot of cultural push towards the recognition of success. So we've got college graduations going on. We've got high school graduations. We've got preschool graduations with caps and gowns. And that is wonderful. Lots of people have put in lots of hard work and are doing wonderful things, and they absolutely should be recognized for their academic success. That being said, this is also a really hard time of year for those who don't do so well academically, who maybe aren't graduating with their class like they expected to, who are being held back, who have dropped out, or who, you know, have to stay one more semester, or who have to write more on their dissertation, you know, who for whatever reason, or for those who never graduated from college or high school. And also for those kids who are graduating, especially, I think, particularly high school, but also from college, maybe not preschool, but people are asking, so what are you going to do now? And people might not know, you know, what if you've just gotten this advanced degree and you still don't have a job, or you're on government assistance, or you have had a degree for a while and you still are not successful in the way that you and or society thinks you should be given your level of education, or maybe your lack of education. Formal education is, you know, holding you back from what you hope to be successful in. And it can be a really hard time. You know, I'm a parent who has had one not very academically strong child push through challenges and graduate early, and one very gifted child who literally 24 hours before they graduated, we weren't sure if they were going to graduate. And then one who sort of was in between that. But it is a stressful, it can be a stressful time of year. And not only for those folks who are doing the graduating, but for those of us, particularly for the parents, who sometimes are looked upon based on the success of our children. Or perhaps that's just something we perceive. Maybe others aren't looking at this, but if it's your kid who didn't graduate, or who isn't graduating this year, or it's your kid who dropped out of college, it's your kid who, you know, is on academic probation, it's your kid who graduated high school and has just got a, you know, random job and doesn't seem to have a direction, it can feel like you're a failure. Not just your kid, but you. So this is where this devotional about Mary comes in, which I thought was fascinating. It was perspective I had never considered before about what it must have been like for Mary after the crucifixion. Not only just the grief, right? We always focus on, or we consider Mary's grief at losing her child, but about the other parents, the others in their community who looked at Mary, because this was her child, who she'd brought up, who she'd been claiming since pregnancy was going to be something big and important. And then he seemed to be a failure at what he said he would do. And this devotional imagined what the others might have been whispering or talking about behind Mary's back, or perhaps even to her face, about Jesus's perceived failure. And it really struck me, because as a parent, I get that on a very visceral level. And I think any of us, parent or not, understands that that sort of hesitation about what others say about our successes or not. You know, we may have some fancy degree or from some fancy school and are just at a small job, like, you know, something that doesn't seem to live up to our potential, and we might be seen as a failure. But the question in the devotional was, by whose standards are we judging success? And that's the question I want to pose to you for this midweek moment. By whose standard are you judging success in your life? By society's standards? By capitalism's standards? By white supremacy standards? By your own sort of biased standards? Or by God's standards? What does success look like to God? Is it having multiple degrees? A high school diploma? A corner office? Your name on a diploma? Your name on a door? Some letters after your name? An important title? Or is it something else? You know, even without the degrees, some of us who are people who want to change the world sometimes get on ourselves about our failures to make change. That we are not, you know, Wangari Maathai or Mother Teresa or Martin Luther King or Oscar Romero or any of the, you know, many, many amazing people who have done big, wonderful things with their lives. And we think, gosh, Maybe we even apologize to gosh, God, I'm such a failure. I'm sorry. I haven't done enough. But what are God's standards? Well, if we look at Micah 6:8, one of my favorite verses of the Bible, the writer asks, or the prophet, right, is speaking to God. God says, he says, well, with what shall I come before God, or bow myself before God on high? Does God want me to sacrifice myself, my firstborn, all of these big things, right? Immortal, what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, love mercy, and walk, or I'd say journey, humbly with your God? That's it. What would Jesus say success is? Love God with all your heart and all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. On this, everything else rests. Have you done that? Are you loving that child that's struggling? And I don't mean like giving them sort of harsh love to make them shape up, but like really loving them by really seeing them and appreciating what they're dealing with. Are you loving yourself in that way? Are you loving others and letting them off the hook for their perceived failures and not holding anybody else up to some standard of success that is not justice, mercy, kindness, humility, loving? It sounds so simple, right? Heck, we can do that before breakfast in the morning. So I offer to each one of you at this time of year, congratulations. Congratulations. You are a success today and every day in God's eyes. You are not a failure. Whether you have letters after your name or not, fancy title, a fat stack of cash, or big bank account, you are loved by God. And just by loving others, you are a success in God's eyes. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And I hope that you find time to celebrate your success in life. And celebrate yourself and celebrate God and God's love. And share some with others. And congratulate them on their success in being a person today. Because sometimes that's pretty darn hard anyway. All right, my beloveds, I will see you all soon.